Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
So I'm assuming now that your sorry ass has moved back to North Carolina that you're making beats again? Is that what this was?
No, I've had this one on deck for a while, actually. I just don't think I've used it yet.
No, you haven't, because I was like, what? And then the punchline hit, and I was like, oh, okay, that's all right. I didn't want anything too overtly sexual because, it's three guys, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea. So,
or the correct idea.
Either or, don't ask, don't tell. That's what we say in the podcast world. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know, probably don't care, Adam left us. He ditched me and Doug, his two gay dads, to move back to North Carolina because he likes humidity and affordable housing. So
that's right. Yes, mainly affordable housing and good food.
I do miss I hated Charlotte. I was not a fan, but that said, I really did enjoy the foodie culture there because it really was oddly prominent. It was pretty cool.
The Bible Belt likes to be fat.
Well, when you're a hypocrite and you've got all that angst and anger inside of you, food helps.
You got to have somewhere to show up with 50 people after church.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if you're Catholic, you still have to have the ash on your forehead. So that is absolutely required. It actually says that in the Bible that ye shall not.
When you go to Sizzler after church, you got to have the ash on your forehead. Yeah, I remember it saying
dine upon the Sizzler with ash. With ash on your forehead, Isaiah 13b or something. So, bingo.
Well, I think it's impossible for Baptists to throw dirt on somebody in the grave and not have potato salad after that.
Margie's potato salad. Hell, though, motherfuckers in Alabama will yell "Roll Tide" at a funeral.
Yeah.
Was Mother Mary...
I would not be surprised.
Roll Tide. Motherfuckers.
I kept telling people you can use it in Alabama. You can use it like amen. We went down to Sister Beulah's Roll Tide, and you can just like use that as a period on the end of any sentence.
Lord I just Jesus, took forgive us, Roll Tide.
Dump, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. Yeah, it is true too. That's this. I laugh. Adam laughs because it's objectively funny. I laugh because I've seen it. So,
yep. It
is a religion.
Everybody out there, feel free to borrow that. Just put Roll Tide at the end of everything.
Roll Tide.
And you'll fit right in Alabama. You'll be very popular unless you're close to the Auburn campus.
Yeah, then it's War Damn Eagle. What? The fucking was it Auburn Tigers, isn't it? Yeah, it's the Auburn Tigers, but they yell War Damn Eagle.
It doesn't make sense.
I am so fucking confused.
Well, it's Southern football.
Oh.
Well,
yeah. American football. So
I said real football, not that stupid soccer football.
Nah, not that communist shit, where they don't let you use your hands. So eventually they atrophy and you can't pick up a gun and fight the liberals.
My buddy was showing me a clip from this professional soccer game, which I definitely really wanted to see. And one of the referees had a FIFA badge on. So I asked them if they were sponsored by the video game because I see that the referee is wearing a FIFA badge, and if the game, like, the game is really on the field now, like the game has made it onto the field in like a real way. And then he explained to me for like 30 minutes that FIFA was a thing before the video game, and I just let him do it.
So I had a proud Adam moment while my sisters were here. They came out to Colorado to visit, and one of my sisters was I think neonatal nurse for like fucking ever and a day, and we were talking about breastfeeding or something, and she starts getting wound up about how we're not supposed to drink cow's milk, and I just had to have an Adam moment. I was like, but why do they sell it then? And there she's going on, and I was like, well, why are there so many cows if we're not supposed to drink the milk? And I'm just keeping a completely straight face the
like
entire
cows
time.
are just here for our consumption.
Yeah, they're just here for us to drink milk. And I'm like, but it's got vitamin D, which, was tantamount to it's got what plants crave. And I just kept going on. And my sister Amy, she caught on like from the very beginning, and she's just cracking up. And my sister Jennifer's just fucking losing it and you're going into the science, right? She's a nurse. She's going into the fucking science of breast milk and cow's milk and all this stuff. And the best part was just the straight face, but I felt like I was channeling my inner Adam, so, and just trolling with a straight face. Cause if you can do that, people are funny in that you can say the most ridiculous things as far as like trolling. And as long as you keep a straight face, that stone poker face, like 90% of people will question your sincerity so hard that they'll just go into it and be like, you can't be fucking serious. And they start talking, and you're thinking to yourself, well, of course I'm not serious, but this is fun. And I do kind of understand now why you troll people as much as you do. So
it's too much fun,
because that actually was somewhat enjoyable and amusing, just to get somebody who is typically pretty calm all wound up. So yeah, I was enjoying that. But like I said,
why are there cows then if we're not supposed to drink all their milk?
Duh.
I love that. Because it's just complete nonsense.
Right. But if you look at some of the conspiracy theories and concepts and ideas that are floating around nowadays, to me, those make zero sense. And yet there are hundreds, if not thousands and millions of people who believe in some of it. So yes. It's like, who is trolling who at this point? I don't even know anymore.
The world is trolling itself right now.
Right? The universal troll. Yeah, I don't know. We were talking earlier about there's this woman that I keep seeing on. I've kind of fallen back into like TikTok and stuff like that. My dopamine receptors enjoy it. And she's this redhead, and as Doug pointed out, every time you see one of her videos, they've got a bunch of high-end like Rode mics and Sennheiser headphones on, and she's talking to other people, but the videos tend to concentrate on her. And she lays out some of the hypocrisy of the way women are perceived and perceive things. And the one that I saw today that really fascinated me is she talks about how
women leave. Oh, sorry. God damn it. I meant to mute my mic.
Yeah, that is the video. She goes on and talks about how men are not really into marriage anymore because there's just nothing in it for them, because women, and I've stated this on other podcasts, I've seen this number. She said 70 to 80% of all divorces are initialized by the woman. The number I had heard was 75. It was or 80. It was 4 out of 5 divorces, right? So again, that tracks. So statistically speaking, women are going to leave men, and then when we marry them, they wind up taking half. They're financially incentivized to take the kids with them because they get more money. So it's just like, why why fucking bother anymore? And as someone who has been married and divorced twice, I can tell you, at least, with my second wife, I feel like she definitely financially did better off than I did as far as things go. Not because she went after me or anything. I actually sort of gave in, if you will, because I didn't want to fight. I just wanted it done. But I know plenty of guys that have just been raked over the coals. Very few women I know can say that. But there is a double standard in the world with how women are treated and men are treated, and not in the way that a lot of women are jumping up and down, or well, the two that listen are jumping up and down and saying, we're not treated fairly. Women, they want you to be chivalrous and a feminist at like the same time. And if you call them out on some of this behavior, they've got a word for you. That word is incel, right? Which, for those that don't know, is short for involuntarily celibate, which in a nutshell means you can't get laid. So that's why you're angry. You're angry and you're pointing out these points because you can't get laid is basically
the only
your
thing
argument.
that makes you angry as a man is that you can't get laid.
Yes, that's
but
it.
Let's not
Nothing
slut
else.
shame.
Right. Right, but don't.
But please
slut
stop
shame.
your slut shaming.
There you go. That's part of exactly what the point of what I was trying to get to is that, and I've said this for years, is that there is this double standard. Women vehemently will fight against it because they benefit. A woman can very easily benefit just by being a woman in the right place. We've all seen the woman in a bar get to go to the VIP room or go do whatever she wants. I think one of the most dangerous things in the world that I have ever seen is an entitled woman that has a man that doesn't know any better and will fight, or I've seen plenty of women that they will go get into fights or start shit, and then here comes this big 300-pound fucking gorilla behind her ready to just swing on anybody without knowing the story, without having any idea how anything started, and I've seen that time and time and time again. And it's incredibly frustrating to me. And not because I can't get laid, but because it's embarrassing for them. It's frustrating and it's irresponsible. Meanwhile, I can't get laid, so I'm angry. Just very angry. But yeah, so we were talking about that.
I knew that was the core reason that you were so mad.
All this time, But I need to find that woman's name because, as Doug pointed out, with her having a podcast or seemingly having a podcast, I'd like to listen and hear what else she has to say. I'm sure some of it is, I don't want to say shtick, but a woman calling out other women for things. You know what I mean? Like that tends to get attention. It's like a black Trump loving Republican,
I think one of the main issues people forget is that like the pendulum's always going to swing back the other way.
I agree.
And the quicker you fucking jerk it one way, the quicker it's going to fucking slingshot back in the other direction.
I do hate when I jerk it and it slingshots back.
And
yeah.
People forgot how to do like small incremental changes and try to like push for like real meaningful like differences to like make things equal. They just want to jerk things one way as fast as they can.
Yep.
And all that does is piss people off.
Yep.
On the other side.
It seems like, shit like that should be held in summits. We should make incremental progress. Okay, we have agreed to this stuff. They have agreed to this stuff, kind of a thing.
Right.
But that shit will never happen. It's like, oh, we were previously unaware of this thing. Let's overcorrect for it. And
right.
That's been a historical trend, but especially like in the last 6 to 8 years. It seems like when something hits the social consciousness, it doesn't really creep in. Like, sort of like, acceptance around gay marriage. That kind of just creeped in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was one of those things, and it over time, a lot of people changed their opinions, and that was a slow incremental thing. When Me Too hit, that was boom, that was immediate, that was, it was warranted, but
Right.
then some of the things that came along with it kind of went weird and slightly overboard in certain areas. But overall, it seemed to be a good thing at the beginning. But everybody can twist anything. Shitty people will take any issue that's floating around out there and find a way to use it to their advantage, whether it's warranted or not.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. And the Me Too thing, it's like it was so aggressive that
yeah.
like then there was like this counter movement of like all these dudes
Right.
who were just saying that like every person that came forward about like sexual misconduct allegations was lying, and then you had this fucking group of fucking pissed off actual incels
Right.
who were just as vocal. And I don't know, it was stupid. It was like they're, I don't know, moving things that fast never ends well.
No,
Yeah.
I think you and Doug are both right in that when you carpet bomb somebody, they tend to retaliate. You know, as a friend of mine said, people tend to react, not respond. There's a difference there, and what we see a lot right now, to Doug's point, in the last 10, 15 years is reactions, not response. Um, and I think that's hard to do. I think it's hard to respond when there are these giant sea level changes, like you were saying, or aggressive changes. And people say, well, we have to be aggressive to get people's attention and things like that. No, I don't think you do typically. And I think that when you do, it backfires on you. Doug said, gay marriage used to be like this big fucking thing. And now it's like, whatever. The only people that care are the fucking rednecks that they're going to have beef about something because that's just what they have to do. I saw a funny tweet that said people that all talking about academic indoctrination or academia indoctrination. And it states, it's not happening. Professors are not doing it. It's just your precious little child is now in a world where they're meeting people of different races and sexualities and skin color. And they're realizing that all of those stereotypes and all those hateful fucking things that you said all those years aren't true. And I don't think I've ever seen anything that was more true than that statement. When I lived, one of the things my sister and I talked about while she was here was we grew up in this shitty little town in Ohio, and people who think that racism is only like sequestered in the South are horribly mistaken. The North, I think, sometimes is even fucking worse because there's like one black person in 1,000. Growing up, I wasn't until I was a teenager that I knew any black people, and it was just a few in this one town. And I grew up with all the stereotypes, and I grew up with all the, racial slurs and all that, and they were normal. And then I moved to Columbus, and not only did I move to Columbus, Ohio, but I moved down on campus. I was like 2 blocks from campus. I was going to parties, and then I was in the bands, and playing all these places. And here you had I met people from every ethnic origin. I met some, well, openly gay people, because I know damn well there were some gays in that town I grew up in, but they didn't dare, like, quote unquote, come out. I met openly gay people and, and all of this stuff. And you hang out with them and you start to realize that there's nothing intrinsically scary about black folks or Hispanics or gays or Muslims or whatever. Some of them were really good fucking people. And then I knew some just, white Christians that were really shitty people. So that tweet really resonated with me because I think that's exactly it. They think, oh, they're trying to indoctrinate our children. No, your kids are just being exposed. And look, some redneck kids go to college and never change their opinion on anything, you know? But a lot,
Yes.
you know what I mean? I mean, some, but then a lot will go and they'll meet other people. And it was hard for me. And I started to see my entire family in a different light after that, after moving up there and becoming a lot more open-minded and listening to their bullshit. And it's like, wow, I mean, you're an adult. You should fucking know better by now that this isn't true. And Adam, I know you've heard this. Doug probably has too, at some point. Well, he or she's one of the good ones,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, talking about a person of a specific race, because my old man especially would work with people of different nationalities or whatever, and yeah, but he's one of them good ones.
He's all right for a.
Yeah.
That's what I heard a lot when I was growing up. And
He's
I'm like,
all right
well, you say that 20 times, and at that point, you don't really hate the whole race anymore, do you?
Seems like each one you meet, you say is, all right for an XYZ. So where are you going with this, man? Yeah, it's, and I think that's why your bigger cities tend to be more liberal and more open-minded of things, where when you are segregated out in the middle of fucking nowhere, I know people that have grown up on farms that their great grandparents started 100 years ago, 150 years ago, and their parents lived on the farm and worked it. And then, you go to their house and it was a kid, mom, grandparent, and maybe even a great grandparent still living in the house on oxygen or whatever. So these people like never left the couple hundred acres that they grew up on or whatever, right? Like they might go into town and they go to school, but they go and then they just leave and then they're back in that microcosm again. And if you think about it, right, that's how humanity would have been for a very, very long time. Even your towns and villages would have been small compared to what they are now. I think I sent you guys that quote. The guy that wrote Ready Player One, he wrote a couple other books too that look kind of interesting. But there's this little blurb, and he talks about how I think he calls them our monkey minds or our ape minds, have not evolved and don't have the capacity to deal with all of the 24/7 news and knowing everything that's going on in the world, and, or as I like to say, knowing when a gnat farts on the other side of the planet in real time. And I think it's true. It's depressing, man. You watch the news, you listen to the news, and it's just fucking depressing all the time. And I don't think it's healthy. So when you go from, living on the farm to knowing what's going on the other side of the world and everywhere 24/7, I think, again, that's that pendulum you talked about, Adam. I think it's just too much, too fast.
Yeah.
So, but
the
I don't.
Constant bad news 24/7 bullshit is definitely not a good thing.
I don't think so either. And the human brain is designed to look for threats, right? That's one of the that's part of the brain that has kept us alive for millennia, is that ability to find threats. So when you've got this screen or this whatever in your home constantly pulling up potential threats for you, it's just hand fucking feeding it to you.
Yeah.
24/7, that's all the brain can do is concentrate on that, and they talk about how depression and anxiety and all that is in ADD is all, it's rise, it's on the rise. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe people are just getting, one, they're being diagnosed, and two, the more people are accepting that they might need help. I was reading somewhere that during and after COVID, therapists are like are in short supply because so many people are going to therapy now, which I think is fucking awesome. Don't get me wrong. I want more people to do it.
This podcast brought to you by BetterHelp.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And I've done some telehealth type therapy, and it's actually pretty cool. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but during COVID, my therapist was like, "Look, man, I got some health issues. I can't run the risk." And at first, I was like, "Eh," and then I actually did it, and it was pretty cool. Sitting here in my same setup that I use for the podcast, and we're doing it, and I still felt better afterwards. So I would tell people that if it's something you're thinking about, and give one of those apps a try. I've never used one. I don't know anything about them. They might be trash, but it's like anything else. It's all about the person on the other end of the computer, not so much the delivery method. But yeah, I think I'm sure that we are seeing record levels of depression. The world has been. I mean, I'm a nihilist who grew up in the '80s. We did uh, the threat of the Cold War, the threat of nuclear war, movies like The Day After.
Oh yeah,
That movie will fuck you up. Shit like that, But I would be willing to say that the lately has been way more fucking depressing because it's a little more realistic in the sense of, nuclear bomb drops were all fucking dead, right? But what I see is just this depressing fucking dystopian world with everybody fighting everybody over stupid ass shit. And that just seems like a lot more realistic way of things getting shitty and slow. Like if a nuclear bomb hits and you die, okay, that sucks, but you're dead. Now you don't have to worry about it. But just watching the world turn into a fucking shit show, eh,
It's great. I love it. I actually really
right?
like it.
This podcast brought to you by Celebrex. Fucking Eeyore.
I love watching the fucking world just turn to shit.
Right? With us in the fucking middle of it.
I love it.
So I love it. It's great. So how is Charlotte? How is North Carolina?
It's pretty good. People are nicer than I remember.
I find that hard to believe.
Oh, you better believe it, buddy.
Oh, buddy, you better believe it.
Oh, you better believe what I'm telling you because I'm telling it right to your face.
Oh, it's not going to happen, buddy. Oh, no.
But yeah, I like it. The food is definitely better, and I don't live in Charlotte, which makes it a lot better.
Yeah, I did live in Charlotte. Right. I think we were right on the cusp of what they considered Charlotte, right on the outside. So they don't just smother everything in green chili and call it like Colorado style.
God, dude, you want to hear my biggest pet peeve, food wise, in the whole world?
God, more than anything.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I do.
I bet you.
Good, I do.
Raising Cane's might be the blandest chicken ever made, and everyone loves it, and I don't know why.
I much prefer Zaxby's to them.
Ugh, God, I hate fucking Zaxby's.
But dude, Raising Cane's is like they took the whole board of Raising Cane's has to be all white guys.
Probably
100%.
Yeah.
It's like they just throw the chicken in flour and then call it a day, and then
that's it. Well,
yeah,
it's got enough seasoning with the flour. What more do you need?
Flour chicken is naturally seasoned because we fed the chicken some peppers.
Some peppers. We feed the chickens garlic.
It's so I hate it.
I don't know that if I honestly don't know. I don't know if I've ever had Raising Cane's, to be completely honest with you.
It is bland. I mean, they give you a pretty good sauce to dip it in, but if you don't use it, the chicken doesn't taste like anything.
Pretty much. And the sauce is just kind of glorified. You know what everybody does, glorified Thousand Island.
Yeah, Zaxby sauce is the same thing, just Thousand Island.
Yeah, I never liked. Zaxby's was huge in Alabama, and my ex was a big fan. And
what didn't you like about it?
I didn't like the flavor of it. It just tasted like processed or something, fake. I don't know. There was just something about it. I mean, I ate it a good deal just because she would order it. That was kind of like I said, that was her comfort food, and she'd order it and I'd eat it. Their wings were terrible. I hated their sauces. My dogs did love their fucking French fries, though. Those bastards would go nuts when we'd get Zaxby's. They'd smell the fries and be like, "Ah, hell yeah!" So, because we had this ritual of feeding them French fries, if they'd sit and lay down, shit like that. That was like their little treat, because we tried not to feed them people food any more than I would just if you drop something, it was open dog territory.
Yeah,
but
you got a Roomba down there to get it.
yeah, I had a 4-legged Roomba. That was after I put my last dog down. That was actually one of my triggers to kind of be bummed. Would be I would drop something, and then I'd realize I had to pick it up. It was like,
darn.
Yeah, it'd be like blat, and I go, oh, because I was just so used to him coming by, and it would just bum me out. So, and there were a few times where I'd kind of start calling for him, and then realize that he's not coming there, Dan. And if he does, it's going to be really, really fucking awkward. So,
Yeah.
right. I had a dream about him last night. He ran off, and I was looking for him, and I woke up, and you're in that weird conscious, subconscious place, and it's like part of me knew he was dead, but the other part of me was, where the fuck's he at? But that, and I used to, I still do, every now and again, I have a dream where I'm talking to my nephew who was killed fucking back in like 2007, and he was in his early 30s, late 20s, early 30s when he died. But in my dreams, he's always like 10 years old, roughly. And at some point in the dream, every time I'll look at him and I'll say, you're dead, right? And he'll be like, yeah. I'm like, okay. It's like, what the fuck, man? And it's a reoccurring dream.
Creepy.
It is creepy. And I have it a couple of times a year. And I've yet to figure out, I'm fascinated by dreams and like dream reading, or whatever you want to call it. I've read things where certain there's this belief or this thought process that certain things just have meanings, like spiders. Fear of spiders is a fear of your mother, and if you dream about snakes, it means this. And my problem with that is that I think
that
everything
sounds
has
superstitious, man.
Right. There's some superstitious feel to it. And the thing is that a snake means different things to different people, right? I mean, a snake means
some people love snakes,
right? So you can't say that a fear of snakes or / dreaming about snakes means XYZ. So how I always did it was, what does the thing that I'm dreaming about, what does it really mean to me? Like when I think of that thing or that animal or that person, what do I think about consciously? And that, I feel like that's worked for me pretty well. There's been a few things where I feel like I've dug down and kind of figured out what the dreams were. I also think that a lot of dreams are just random firing synapses. And what did you eat before bed? Because we've all had that, right? You eat something before bed and go to bed, and you're like, I had the weirdest fucking dreams. It's like, well, what'd you eat before bed? I ate 3 cheese Danishes. Well, that was probably a bad idea.
Yeah, it wasn't that. I think it has something to do with unresolved conflict.
Right. I think it's about my mom. I'm pretty sure it's about my mom. So, were those Oedipus Danishes? Where'd you get those Danishes? Oedipus fucking bakery and Bar Mitzvah Center.
It's the new Danish shop in the new Oedipus complex downtown.
Oedipus complex.
Jesus.
Yes.
Christ.
I'm glad you were able to bring that home, because I couldn't. I was struggling, man. That's what friends do. They bring home your stupid ass fucking jokes when you can't.
You know what? I saw a lot of motherfuckers down there at that complex.
Sorry, I was taking a drink of water and I couldn't compliment you on that one. I
Thank
saw
you.
a lot of motherfuckers down there at the Oedipus complex. I feel like that's a skit. I feel like that's a skit we could put together. So where were you at? Oh, I went down there to that new mall. What's that called? The Oedipus Complex. Yeah, I was down there. Saw a lot of motherfuckers that I know. Yeah, we could do this. I'm telling you, we could do this. There was something else the other day I ran in my head, and I was like, my God, that would be a perfect fucking skit. And I was trying to, I think I jotted it down on like a little fucking post-it or something, like that's going to survive my ADD tirades. But, or do you ever have dreams where you, Adam, you probably have, where you've got like a song lyric or something, and then you wake up and you can't for the fucking life of you remember what it was, but it was brilliant. And I
Yeah,
always
so
wonder, go
I had
ahead.
a dream like that once, and I was able to remember it. And then that was the day that I realized that it wasn't good. I was just asleep.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I sometimes wonder if like there really is no lyric. Your brain, that's just your brain doing what your brain does, saying, "Hey, bro, you had this awesome lyric, but now you can't remember it." Haha. And you're like, "I
Yeah, I
did."
was like, fuck, I forgot what it was. And literally, like, about a year ago, I had one. And I was like, man, I was just like, and I remembered it. And I was like, I was just saying nothing. Like, I was just saying random words and they didn't even rhyme.
Gibberish.
Yeah. It's like reading in a dream. It's just nothing. It's just random words or random letters.
You know, the human brain, and especially the subconscious, is just absolutely fascinating. Um, and I think anyone that's ever dealt with trauma, like real trauma or CPTSD, something like that, should especially be fascinated by it, because things that you're not even thinking about, things that you're not even maybe aware of, are actively impressing themselves upon you and changing the way you act. And I just find that fucking fascinating. There are these processes in the background. I try to tell my therapist all the time, who she is not computer friendly, and I tend to speak in. I tend to think of my brain like a computer. Not that the brain is like a computer. I think computers are like the human brain, but I think about background processes that are running and causing problems with what you're trying to do. And that's kind of how I think about it. And that's the subconscious for me, is that it's running its way. It's just doing its thing, thinking about shit that happened. And because of that, you change the way you consciously do things, but you're not always aware that that influence is there. I just think it's kind of disheartening at times, but at the same time, I think it is just absolutely fascinating. Right.
I used to
And
think the subconscious stuff was bullshit. And I had a repressed memory come back a few years ago. And I was like, oh, that's real.
yeah,
Your brain actually does that. It's not just like it was very fucking strange. I did not like it at all. But
and that's EMDR, which is one of the therapies that I do. I haven't done it in a while, but it's designed to do that, to bring back repressed memories. And a lot of people think that repressed memories are complete bullshit. And I understand that. I ain't got no repressed memories, not that I can remember anyway.
no shit. I didn't forget nothing.
Right. And forget nothing. Not that
But
I
it's
can
like
remember anyway.
it's not that you forgot it. It's that it's literally still there. That's the weirdest part to me because I was like, no way that shit is still there and I just can't access it.
Yeah. Because
I was like,
again,
no fucking way. But it happened to me one day, and it wasn't anything like super bad or anything, but it was very strange because I was like, I had that locked away.
mm-hmm, just something, and things will trigger that. And EMDR is designed to trigger those things and get them out. And what's really interesting to me is that once you open that pathway, it's there now. One of the things, I knew somebody that went and did one of those ayahuasca clinics, and I know somebody now that's considering doing one of the mushroom rituals, right? And I remember the person that did the ayahuasca. I asked them, because they were telling me all this stuff that opened up while they were there. And I was happy for them, you know. But I asked, I was like, well, are you seeing a therapist now? And they're like, no. And I'm like, they said, as part of the whole ayahuasca thing, you could pay extra and do, you know, like the teletherapy. And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? You could see if you pay more because you didn't pay enough to go down there and do it. And
Would you
I
like
made the
fries
same.
with that?
Yeah, right. Right? Yeah, no, just give me the basic meal. I want to open up all these repressed memories and then just
go
deal with the
home.
fucking fallout from them, right? And I mentioned to the person talking about, you know, doing mushrooms, and they said they've actually already talked to their therapist about it. Their therapist is totally on board, and you know, when they come back, they'll work on all that. You cannot open up your mind like that especially as when you get older and you've got all these repressed memories. You cannot flood your brain with all of these repressed memories and not be able to deal with them. And you really just can't deal with them on your own. And like I said, I think everybody should be in therapy. My therapist and my psychiatrist both have made comments to me about I'd be a great therapist and I should consider it. My therapist is all about it. She's like, maybe after you retire, you could, because I was like, I don't have time to go back to school. I mean, you have to get, I think, like a bachelor's to get your license and all that. And I just don't see me doing it, you know?
Well, to be fair, that's not something you would want some schmuck that took a weekend crash course to be dicking with you. So,
like a Cisco dump, like one of the brain dumps.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Those, test prep courses you don't want.
Just give me
your
the
therapist
cliff notes on the human mind.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Mm-mm. No, and I'm all about that, right? Was talking
when you're
to somebody.
talking to them, you can hear them Googling in the background.
So anyway, Dan, what Fraud. So no one's going to get that reference. Yeah, and that's dangerous. I mean, I was talking to somebody and they were discussing how their therapist told them that, talking about narcissists, and a lot of therapists don't even understand what a narcissist is and how dangerous they are and what they're capable of doing. And that's the point, right? Is that therapists don't know everything. So I do a lot of learning and stuff on my own. I've clued my therapist into new things, and my psychiatrist, I clued her into new things. And hey, have you ever heard of XYZ? And she's like, no. And then I'd come in and see her again couple weeks later, and she'd be like, dude, I researched this and this is fascinating. Where did you come across this? And it's like, well, you see people 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I live with me 24/7. So, I do research these things, and I am genuinely fascinated by it. Like the human mind, sociology, how the brain works. I'm not formally educated on much of any of it. I've taken some classes here and there, but I'm just genuinely fascinated with how the mind works. I want to do a Carl Jung. Some of you have heard of Carl Jung, and the fascinating thing about him is that he went nuts. I think he had schizophrenia, but he is also one of the forefathers of mental health as we know it today. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, those guys they're all over the place in textbooks. But Jung started to lose his mind, but he knew he was losing his mind because of all of his training and research. And so, even when he was in the mental hospital, he was still documenting things, and he was documenting it for the cause, if you will, right? Because he knew that this was such a unique perspective of being as educated and trained as he was, and having that perspective and being able to document what he was going through and how his mind was working. And I just think that's like some gangster shit right there, in my opinion, as far as psychiatry
Here is
goes.
how I am dying.
Right. Like, here's how I'm losing my fucking mind. And here's, and I'm going to break it down for you in a way that no one else would understand. I just think that's some OG shit right there.
Well, he had a unique opportunity to document. Like, he was probably one of the most like educated people in the field, and he was going through it. It was a super. I think he probably understood how unique of an opportunity it was.
He did, and that's exactly why he did it. And so I feel like when my therapist says, Dan, have you ever thought about being a therapist? Do you have any idea how good you'd be? It's like, no, I've never really thought about it like that, but I don't feel like I would get those types of accolades if I wasn't a little fucked up myself. I mean, I've had to go through this shit and deal with it on my own and wrestle with it. And that's why I understand it, or why I'm compassionate to it. I'm very empathetic to people with mental health issues, but I also have a credo, and that credo is having a mental illness does not give you a license to be a fucking asshole. I hate when people are like, I'm bipolar, I'm schizophrenic, I have depression, I have anxiety, and it's being used as a reason for why they acted badly or poorly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've got depression, anxiety, OCD, ADD, CPTSD. I've been diagnosed with all of the letters. And when I act like an asshole, I feel bad about it. And I say, I'm sorry. I acted like an asshole. There's no gosh, sorry, Hey, sorry I was acting like an asshole, but I have cancer. So, which sounds like something a friend of ours would say, actually. Fuck it, I'll just say it. Rich, who used to be part of our podcast back in the day, has dealt with some cancer in the last year. And he is good. He's clear. A lot of chemo. But that just, I feel like that's something he would say. So I'm going to tell him I said that.
It really does.
Doesn't it? He'd be like, hey, sorry I was an asshole, but I have cancer.
So I can kind of do what I want.
Right? Yeah. I can kind of do what I want because I have cancer, Yeah, I'm definitely going to send him a link to this podcast. So,
well, also, we need to ask him the question, does that mean you got to go to Disneyland or anything like that?
Yeah, was it that
or
bad?
Did you get shafted on that whole deal?
If it was that bad, or did you have like current cancer or like 1987 cancer? Like, I think that's the important part, or the important question.
1987, damn it.
And only he would appreciate this, like no other. So
in 1987, when you had cancer, it grew out the side of your head. Everybody knew.
Right? You had to walk uphill in the snow barefoot to the oncologist.
So, oh my God, both ways. Uphill both ways to the oncologist.
Yes, sir. Yep. They oncologists didn't have a lot of real estate options back then. They had to perch themselves up on hills that sat across from another hill where you lived. So it was very inconvenient for people. So, yeah, speaking of diagnoses, cancer is another one. They talk about how, cancer is on the rise. No, the diagnosis of cancer is on the rise, right? 100 years ago, people died of old age.
Or just fucking died, and they'd say, what happened? He fucking died?
He died.
He died. I mean,
he did.
Because, literally, you've got everything from sudden infant death syndrome to, multiple system organ failure when somebody is, like Princess Elizabeth age, what have you. Anything in between can get you. You might not even make it out. There's a bajillion things that can go wrong. But when it was like before it was known that diabetes, I forget the doctors that, discovered it back in the 20s or something like that. But prior to that, diabetes was just called the pissing disease because that was one of the major symptoms.
Was pissing all the time.
Where you were always thirsty, you peed all the time, and then then you go into diabetic ketoacidosis, and
he pissed himself to death.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
He's got a case of the pissing disease.
This can be cured with a pack of cigarettes.
That's how they said it too. So basically what Doug was saying is that Queen Elizabeth died from sudden infant death syndrome.
That's what I gathered.
I want to go on record as that was the official cause of death.
Late onsets.
Late onset sudden infant. Jesus. Oh boy, we haven't had a good offensive joke in a while, actually. So been kind of mellow lately. That was good. So yeah, delayed.
It felt cathartic.
It felt good. I felt right, Brian. I felt right.
I feel right.
There is a Family Guy episode for every occasion.
There really is.
Oh, there is.
Which is why I always say, haha, have you guys seen the Family Guy bit where they do X?
I am proud to say that I have seen about 90% of them when you say that. There's a very, very few that I have not seen. I still think Family Guy and South Park are two of the funniest things to ever be on TV. And a lot of it is because it is dark and offensive. I saw a thing on TikTok, this guy's black guy, and he was breaking down Robert Downey Jr.'s performance in Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder, yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking about how it's not really blackface. A lot of, because, dude, when that movie came out, nobody had a problem with it. And then I guess in the last year or so, like, some people have dug into it. I guess they want to cancel Robert Downey Jr., whatever. And this guy goes on and everything he said it's about nuance. It's about being tasteful, and it's about really being funny. And if you understand the joke, they were actually making fun of Hollywood. They were making fun of the fact that white actors that Hollywood does whitewash things. They got this blonde hair,
Robert Downey Jr. is not playing a black guy.
Right.
He's playing a white guy who's doing blackface.
I'm a dude playing a dude pretending to be another dude.
Just another dude. Yeah.
I mean, that is, and the guy even, and what's funny is I went into the comments because, that's where the meat and potatoes is on social media, man. It's in the comments. And what was funny is that black folks after black folks were like, whoa, hold up. First of all, leave Robert Downey Jr. alone. Second of all, these other people obviously didn't understand the character, and I had to agree with him. I don't think that if you get mad about that, you don't understand, one, what blackface was used to do, because it was used to kind of diminish and make fun of black people, right? And again, this character, but I was watching the clips and I was like, fuck, to me, he stole the show. As far as I'm concerned, he is the funniest part of that movie. I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker. Just by far. He was ridiculous. And the guy said the only thing that was even slightly stereotypical was his voice, was the voice that he was using, like, this is what black guys sound like. And again, yes, he's right. It is stereotypical. I mean, we work with a dude, you guys work with him now. I don't work with him as much. A rather large black man. And he sounds, quote unquote, white, right? I did not know he was black until I saw his picture and was like, oh, and we joke about it, right? Accents, there is a black accent. There are people that have argued with me about that. I do believe there's a black accent or an inner city accent. There's a white comedian. Doug's probably seen him.
Regional.
There's this white comedian. I think he's from Cincinnati, actually. And he wears a mullet, and his whole shtick is that he's a white guy that grew up in predominantly black neighborhoods, but he's got that accent. And I've known other white dudes that have had that, quote unquote, that accent, right? But it is still stereotypical.
Is he the white guy that's like from Cincinnati or something? Cincinnati, Columbus?
Cincinnati, yeah.
Yeah, and like especially like when he'll fly back home and goes to rent a car or whatever else.
Yeah, that's one of his that's one of
Yes.
his bits.
Yes.
Is the lady, the
he's
black lady
hilarious.
behind the counter, and then he gets to go down on the Bengals field and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he's funny as hell. He's really good. But he's got
And-
that, and I've
Can't
heard
think
that
of his
accent.
damn name to save my life.
I can't either. But I've heard that accent in Ohio more than once. You know
what my favorite stereotype is?
What's that?
Pioneer.
He cricketed himself. I can't fault it.
No, he knew. I respect that. He knew.
Adam trying to speed run the Oregon Trail or some shit.
Wait, what? No, because it's a type of stereo.
Type of stereo, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Pioneer or Kenwood.
Kenwood. Kenwood would have been a better joke if you just said Kenwood. That's all right. I mean, yes, you try them out on us, and that's
all right. I'll be back next week with the same joke.
My favorite stereotype is Kenwood. Just not Alpine.
And then you guys will be like,
right, absolutely, dude. We will crack. Right? We will crack the fuck up.
Okay. I need you guys to really. Wait, hang on. Yeah, come on. If I do an open mic, I'm bringing you guys to get the crowd going.
I would do that. I'd be your hype man.
You gotta start the laughter so then everyone else laughs.
Oh yeah, just be like guy in the background like
I'm still in the setup, Dan. I'm still in the setup.
Exactly. You're like, so my name's Adam Lester from Charlotte.
And I'll just be like, "You's a funny motherfucker." You get him, boy. You get him. That's a funny motherfucker right there.
Oh my god! I shit myself
and I'll
a little.
just keep doing that the entire time, so no one can ever hear what you say. That'll be the great.
That way, they won't know you're unfunny. Speaking of unfunny, that's enough of us for tonight. Adam, play us out.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.